Hare Krishna.
Life is not about being always happy. It's okay to be sad as well. It shook me a little that, something coming from a monk.
Actually, we're all vulnerable. And the more authentic we are, the more connected we are to our own vulnerabilities, weaknesses. I think we become very peaceful. Peace is not in attaining some imaginary state. Peace is in accepting who we essentially are. Anybody who's talking about spirituality, they all know that surrender is what will change your life dramatically.
Sometimes mind over heart and heart over mind. People get stuck in this. Some people, they listen to their head more. And some people listen to their heart more. And both of them are frustrated.
This is again a classic example of struggle. The fear, the control. We are driven by control and fear. At the same time, there are people who say, I want to follow my heart. They'll end up in a lot of trouble as well.
Do you sometimes feel that you've meant for something bigger? That there's small voice inside of you which tells you that this is your calling and this is what you're supposed to do? Sounds familiar, right? Well, that is what we've talked about in this podcast, how to know what your calling is. We've also talked about some breathing exercise that will calm your mind and body. And we've also discussed how to live a simple life. We've discussed that it's okay to be sad. You can acknowledge your emotions, and even if you're sad, you can just take a day off and start from the beginning from next day. For today's podcast, we have with us Vraj Bihari Prabhu. Let me give you a disclaimer in the beginning of the podcast that this podcast is going to blow your mind because we've talked so much on mental health, mental well-being, and how to live your life, to know the purpose of this life. I don't think Braj Bihari Prabhu needs an introduction, but let me just give you a small gist of who he is. He's been living as a monk for last 2.5 decades, and he's not just a monk. He's done his masters in monetary policy and international finance. He's worked in KPMG as well, so he knows both the sides of the world. If you just search Vraj Bihari Prabhu, you'll get hundreds of lectures given by him that makes your life so simple, and I'm pretty sure you'll be able to connect with him so quickly. He's written 5 books. I'll mention the names of the book in the description, and I will also tag his YouTube page in the description itself. Let us know in the comment section your reviews on it, and thank you so much for giving us so much love in all the podcasts that we've done before. We are almost about to reach 10,000 followers on Instagram, and one of our podcasts has touched 16,000 views. That is the most viewed podcast on the Soulful Therapy. Thank you so much. It means the world to me. If you can introduce yourself to the audience, and why would they like to listen to you? Why would they listen to you?
Well, you don't have this.
I'm sure you should.
No. Yeah, I am a struggling sadhaka. Struggling means I'm ordinary person, but I've got a wonderful heart. In the sense I love to love. I love to explore. I have a curiosity mindset. So I write a journal. I write journals every day, but there's one particular journal I write every day. How did God show up today? I don't sleep at night without answering this question. So, my life is very interesting because I get stories every day. I just have to keep my eyes and ears open throughout the day. And night, I just close my eyes. Okay, what was a worthwhile story that happened today where God showed up? So I'm always looking out for stories. So life is filled with stories for me. So that's why I feel my life, although I'm very ordinary, I'm simple, I have my own struggles, but for me, every day of my life is refreshing because it's filled with stories. So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like you're watching a movie every day. It's like watching a movie every moment. So I'm always looking out for, okay, what's the story here? What's the story here? And that's how God shows up to me through stories. So every day I have a story. That's why my life is interesting. When you're asking me, why should anybody want to hear me or associate with me or listen to me? Because I am an interesting person. Because I'm always looking out for stories. If you talk to me, see, there was a time when I wanted to be a very interesting person. But now I am actually interested. I'm interested in people. I'm interested in everything. I see a cat. I try to be present and see what is the cat looking out for? What is God telling me here? So rather than be interesting, I want to be interested. I'm interested in you. I'm interested in everyone. So I keep my eyes and ears open all the time. So I think that may fascinate you. That because if you also do that, you will see your life is refreshing.
So the first thing is that how did you chose to be a monk? Because in this age where everyone wants to be a millionaire, everyone wants to achieve big things in life, how did you decide that this is something that I want to do?
And that's not easy to answer because it's not that I got some realizations and I was a monk and all of that. Just I think I went with the flow. So I was a young man. I was 25. I was happy practicing Krishna consciousness. And I thought I should continue this lifestyle. And then I loved the devotees in the temple. I think it happened. It just happened. You know, like there's a famous song of Kishore Kumar. ये क्या हुआ? What they say is कैसे हुआ? क्यों हुआ? कब हुआ? So छोड़ो ये ना सोचो. Something like that. I really don't know how it happened. You know, it just everything fell in place, and I think one thing led to another. And before I realized, I was in the ashram for a good 6 to 8 months. I joined with the desire to get trained for 6 months and learn about monk life. But I actually wanted to do something different, I guess. So honestly, I've stopped analyzing how I joined and what happened, but I went with the flow.
That is also very difficult because I keep on saying when I was thinking that, I don't want to get married. I want to go and be a monk. And I went to Rishikesh and I stayed there for a month and I was like, I'll see how it goes. I stayed there for a month and I was like, it's not that easy. It's very difficult to just be a monk. Living a monk life is very, very difficult. And as you said, living with the flow. And we hear this a lot. Like if we talk to our parents, it's there when you are stressed, they are like, don't think so much, just go with the flow. Like I talked to my grandmother and she's like, eventually everything falls into its place. Something wrong is happening in your life, something good is happening in your life, it will pass.
Yeah.
This too shall pass. So how to live with that flow? Like how do you surrender yourself to, okay, whatever is happening, is it in a good way? And you see your life going in that way.
I call it the upma philosophy. You know upma? Upma is an Indian delicacy, South Indian delicacy. Upma is made of semolina. Have you eaten?
Yeah.
And do you know how it is made? How it is cooked? It's like exactly, water. But before that, you roast it and then you put it in water. So when you're actually cooking it, it's very sticky. It's like, at one point of time, you are like, "ये क्या हो रहा है? इतना चिपकू है." It's like you think you messed it, but you hang on, and then you see it's well made. So I think many of us, we don't realize that we are like the upma being cooked. So it's sticky, confusing, problems. So when I joined the ashram also, things were not clear and I had my own struggles. So it was sticky, but I knew that lagero, just hang around, just because there is something intuitively, this is the right thing to do. This is my calling. I knew it. I knew that I can be a monk and I have it in me, but I didn't know how, why, what, all the details. But I knew it. You know it.
Yeah, I can totally relate.
Yeah, but I didn't know how, why, and all of that. I was upma. I just had to hang on, and then I think maybe 2-3 years later, I realized that now I think I'm stable. This is what I was being driven for, So I think that's the way it is. So how to go with the flow? You need to know if you're strongly convinced that this is your calling, and then you just need to remember the upma philosophy. That things will not be smooth. See, we have a very utopian idea about life. We want things to be cool, balanced, life to be sorted. No, life is not like that. When you say life is balanced, it's not that you are like cool and organized and sorted. No, you go through your struggles, but it's just that you hang around. take a deep breath, go on, and then yeah, things fall in place.
So nice. So when you were in that, as first of all, I think the question that comes when you said that life is not about being always happy, and you said that yesterday as well. Life is not about being always happy. It's okay to be sad as well, and that was kind of a it shook me a little that something coming from a monk, that okay, when you said that someone asked you that how are you doing and you said you are sad, but it's okay, like I'll be okay tomorrow. And that was something very powerful, because we usually don't accept that we are sad. And that is how the society also teaches us that you're supposed to be happy, everything will work out, you just be happy. I think it's very important to feel the emotions that you are feeling. And that is how I also, when I was going through that depressive state, I was I was suggested that feel whatever you're feeling. Don't ignore your emotions. And that was very impactful. And I think that is something that if you can put some more light on that, because as coming from a monk, people have that image that okay, he's a monk and he's always happy.
Yeah, I think the lot of illusions we carry. We look at monks, we think, oh, they have an aura, halo around their head. They are like self-realized. So we are looking for perfect beings. We're looking for Superman. Actually, we're all vulnerable. And the more authentic we are, the more connected we are to our own vulnerabilities, weaknesses, and the more accepting we are of our fallible nature, I think we'll become very peaceful. Peace is not in attaining some imaginary state. Peace is in accepting who we essentially are and living in that space. And what happens is, I've seen people who can't accept sadness, melancholy, they are always struggling. See, life, the more you struggle, the more you suffer. Struggle is going against resistance. And the default setting of this life on this planet is we all have to struggle all the time. Bhagavad Gita also speaks about it. Karshati. We can't avoid struggle. Prak sharira vimokshanat. Till we give up this life, we have to struggle. Struggle is the name of the game. It's a law. It's like we have a law of gravity. This is a law of struggle, constantly filling gaps, constantly trying to meet gaps, and basically always feeling inadequate. You always need to sort things out. You always need to solve problems. Struggle is the name of the game. Now, what happens when you accept you are sad, you are changing the laws of the game. You suddenly enter the space of surrender. Surrender is opposite of struggle. Surrender is when you are actually peaceful. You are accepting, you are allowing higher forces to govern your life. So it's important to also experience the joy of surrender. So when I say I'm sad, it's not that I'm like depressed. I'm telling myself I gave up the struggle. I'm sad now. It's okay. I trust the universe. I trust Krishna. It's okay. I'm sad, but I'll be all right. I'm okay. Nothing wrong with me. And then you actually experience the joy of surrender, because you're allowing Krishna to hold the reins of the chariot of your life. And that's a beautiful experience. Surrender. You see, forget Hare Krishnas. You go to anybody who's talking about spirituality, they all know that surrender is what will change your life dramatically. It will alter the landscape of your life completely.
That's true.
Surrender is the goal of all spiritual practices, whether you're a Buddhist, an impersonalist, Hare Krishna, devotee. So, and you're practicing surrender when you accept you're sad. This is one way. I'm just saying, this is one of the ways you enter that space of surrender.
It's beautifully explained. And I think when I was in this journey, I was in a very bad state of mind. Like I was not sure what to do, what's going on in my life. And as you said, that is where the surrender concept came in. Like earlier, I knew that I was into spirituality, but that thing was in me that I am doing it. Spirituality also I am doing it. If some decision is also being taken, I am doing it. But when that total surrender came in, that was like a game changer for me. It changed my mood, it changed my mind, everything so quickly, and things just started falling into its place. But my next question comes to is that what is the level of surrender that one should have? Because everyone has a different definition of surrender. When things are not going in our way, we tend to do things some way, and we say that okay, this is probably how God wants me to do, universe want me to do. But there are different definition of surrender for everyone out there. Like people say that some effort needs to be done from your side and rest universe will do it. But like I believe that if you completely surrender, everything will work out for you. So what is your definition of surrender?
Yeah. Surrender begins with, see, the Bhakti tradition that we practice. In our tradition, surrender begins with remembrance of God. Surrender is not an external arrangement. Surrender is not that you start doing things which you don't like to do. Or surrender is not that you give up everything and you just become a monk. Surrender is at any given point of time. Can you add the principle of remembering God? Can you invest emotions? Can you invest affection there? Can you let go the desire to figure out everything? Can you say something like, Krishna, I trust you. Krishna, please help me. Those 3 words or 4 words, Krishna, I trust you. This is surrender. And I know it sounds a little abstract, but that's how, life is a little nuanced. You can't just get everything gross. But as we evolve in our spiritual life, we need to understand that if I can remember the Lord with feeling, I'm practicing surrender. And this is something which can be practiced anytime, anywhere. You could be stuck in a traffic. You could be in the middle of a project, a meeting. And a child can practice this also. So surrender is not something exotic. It's our willingness and ability to call out to the Lord. In some way connect. So Rupa Goswami is given us this principle, Yena kena prakarena manha Krishna niveshayat. Somehow or the other, fix your mind on Krishna. So if we can, to the extent we can do that, we are practicing surrender. So it begins with adding this principle. See, generally what happens is, we struggle. We struggle with no remembrance of Lord. We want to sort out things. But the moment you add the principle of remembering, that is struggle plus remembrance is surrender. Then your struggle reduces and your remembrance increases. And at a certain point of time, you don't struggle at all and you're only remembering the Lord. That's like complete surrender. So the spectrum, it's like this. It begins with no remembrance of the Lord. In fact, for many people, there's not even struggle. They are like in very lower modes. But the moment you add the principle of struggle and remembrance, so you are on the journey of surrender. So most of us, we are driven by our passions and struggle. So struggle is very high, remembrance is very low. So as you increase remembrance, struggle will reduce and surrender will increase. And that's why you see some of the greatest devotees, they have left everything. They're always remembering the Lord. And they completely surrender to the will of the universe, of the Lord. So we can reach that stage, but we can't artificially do that. Because right now, our mind is dragging the chariot of our life. Now we come to Hare Krishna, or we want to practice spiritual life. So we want to take charge. That's like struggle. And we also remember the Lord. Krishna, help me. Struggle and remembrance. Struggle and remembrance. And a time comes in our life when we let go that struggle also. Krishna, I can't control the chariot of my life. I give up. Krishna, I give up. And then the Lord takes over. So you see, this third phase and the first phase look similar. In the first phase, the mind is taken over. In the third phase, Krishna is taken over. But both look similar. That's why we need the second phase, struggle. Struggle is important part. I'm not saying give up struggle. I'm just saying struggle and remember the Lord. And as you increase remembrance, eventually you will learn how to navigate through, and you will reach a stage where you will be able to give up completely. That's like complete surrender.
When I was talking to you and I initially asked you if you can come for the podcast, and I asked you what is it that you want to talk about, and you said that I want to talk about how to make your life slow. And I think that is a very interesting and very impactful topic, because everyone is in rush these days. You coming from Mumbai, where everyone is running, everyone is, always on their toes, that okay, this, on time, on time, on time. So how would you suggest to make your life slow?
Yeah. Actually, I think what we were discussing just before this also, spirituality, will make a lot of sense when we slow down our lives. If we're always rushing at a breakneck speed, then we only look for stimulation. We look for some temporary relief. So again, how to slow down is secondary. Why we need to slow down is more important. I've seen that consistently we always ask questions how. You say anything good, you hear anything good, immediately the next question that comes in your head is how. If somebody talks about slowing down, how to slow down? If somebody says breathing is great, breathing will give a lot of benefits, how to do breathing? Journaling is a great tool that can give a lot of happiness. Okay, how to journal? So what happens is everything we have a how. So you slow down. If you want to really slow down, first stop asking how. Start asking why. Why should I slow down? Slow down by asking why should I slow down? So see, I've gone through this journey where I've been trying to figure out solutions for everything. And how gives you a kick? It gives you a feeling that, okay, you can thought out life, you can figure out. But that's not the way it is. Slow down means allow things to be revealed to you. So why questions is the best way, the answer to your question, how to slow down. Yeah, how to slow down? By asking why to slow down.
That's so nice. Why someone should slow down?
Yeah. Because you connect to yourself. You understand that there is more to your life than the physical reality that surrounds you. See, right now, we are just look around. It's all physical reality. What I mean by physical reality is something that has a beginning and an end. The building, the lights, the chair, the dress, this body has a beginning and an end. That's what this is called physical reality. A reality that you can perceive with your senses is physical reality. A table, a bottle of water. So this is all, because there was a time when this didn't exist. 52 years ago, this body didn't exist. And a few years from now, this would just cease to exist. So that means this is physical reality. Now we are always living in the physical reality. Why we need to pause, why we need to slow down is because there is another reality called metaphysical reality. Spiritual life begins with us exploring a metaphysical reality. Physical reality is what? That which has
beginning and an end.
Metaphysical reality is that reality which has no beginning and no end, which means it always exists. I know this sounds vague, but it is not. If you simply slow down, take a deep breath, you can perceive this. I'll give a simple example. Have you ever been to a mountain top or an ocean side or a forest where you felt very peaceful? And I sit under this giant banyan tree near our temple, but I feel I'm sitting with a friend. What is actually happening at the subtle level is that this tree has been around for 400 years. And there is something within this body which also has been around for a long, long time, which hasn't died. Now, I don't know it in those exact words, but intuitively we know that there is something within us which is also eternal, which has no beginning and an end. We know it, but we don't know it. We can't speak it. We're not able to explain it in words, but it does exist. This reality is there. And that's why we feel peaceful when we are in nature. That's why we feel connected to the ocean and the forest. Because something within us doesn't die. We've always been around. Now what happens is when you slow down, when you pause, you connect to that reality. So when I see that giant banyan tree, I feel this tree is my friend, because just like this tree, there's something within me which has also been around for 400 years. So I feel a connection with the tree, with the sky, with the forest. So that's the metaphysical reality. That's what Bhagavad Gita begins with, that we don't die. So why we need to slow down our lives? So that you rise from physical reality to metaphysical reality. Now the problem is, many of us are not even in the physical reality, because to access metaphysical reality, you need to at least have a stable physical reality. We are right now stuck in virtual reality. We're not even in the physical reality. So now the challenge of a spiritualist is, the questions you're asking about how to sort out things, and the youth need balance and all of that. That's because we are stuck in virtual reality. So we need to pull people up to physical reality and then take them to metaphysical space. So it's a challenge. You see what I'm saying? So at least when you see rain outside your window, that rain is real. Although it's temporary, it has a beginning and an end, but it's physical reality, it is real. But now if you're watching rain on an electronic screen, it's not even real.
Still, if you
forget temporary, it doesn't even exist. It's just some light flashing on a screen. So if we are stuck in virtual reality, so spiritual life means now at least come to real world, come to the physical space, and then rise to metaphysical space. So why we need to slow down? So that we move from virtual reality to physical reality, and we need to slow down so that we rise from physical reality to the metaphysical reality, which is actually the spiritual path that all traditions talk about.
Right.
It makes sense.
Yeah. It's purely making sense to me. And I'm sure, especially youngsters, they'll be able to connect with it, because the example that you've given, it's, connects with that. They have never heard this kind of, example of physical reality, virtual reality, and metaphysics. That was beautiful. Also, does slowing down helps? Like, does breathing exercise help you with slowing down? Because what I've seen is that when you are in stress, when you are in some difficult situation, the first thing that changes is your breath.
Yes.
That is the first thing that takes different. Your breath changes. So does breathing exercises also help you slowing down, or it helps you keeping calm or controlling your minds?
Breathing immediately activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the way the body heals. So generally, like for example, there's a bomb blast. Suddenly, the way we respond depends on the way our nervous system is developed. For the autonomous nervous system has two parts, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. So the sympathetic nervous system is our flight and fight response. So even when you are stressed, your digestion is happening, you're taking rest, things are happening in the body because the autonomous nervous system is activated. It's a sympathetic nervous system is activated, and that's how the autonomous nervous system is happening. It's functioning. But when you're relaxed, then the parasympathetic nervous system is activated, which is, it's like when you're fighting a war, for example, you have a gun in your hand and you're facing enemies. Your heartbeat is happening, but you are in stress. So that means the sympathetic nervous system is activated, which is basically, it is catabolic, it breaks your tissues. So but the nature has made a beautiful balance. The nature also has created this parasympathetic nervous system, which is activated when you are not in a hurry, when you're recuperating, when you're relaxing. So the more we relax, the more the parasympathetic nervous system is activated, which means you are healthy. Your body, it's anabolic. It actually builds your tissues. But what is happening for most of us is we are constantly fighting a battle. We are running around. So when we consciously breathe, when we slow down, you'll see that your parasympathetic nervous system is activated. You are more grounded. And your breath, just like, when you're stressed, your breathing becomes shallow. Similarly, if you consciously make your breath relaxed, you will see that your stress levels also changes. Stress levels also change.
Yeah.
Just like when you're stressed, your breathing changes. So if you change your breathing, your stress changes. So that's how you actually are more connected when you breathe. Breathing is a great tool to slow down. But again, I can see a trap there. Many people, they're into breathing, but then they want to do so many kinds of breathing, and then they keep a track of all of that, and then again it becomes a part of the doing culture. And then you tick all your boxes. It's true. So you may get all your breathing done, and still you may be miserable. So ultimately, it's not simply an external act of breathing in a certain way. It all boils down to your willingness to be in a state of being. Doing is, again, gaps, solving problems. Okay, I have got this stress, so let me solve this problem by breathing. That's doing.
Yeah.
But being is, well, I'm sad, I'm stressed, it's okay. I think we're coming back to the same point you began there.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Know your why.
Yeah, no, I'm okay. I've been suffering. It's okay. Nothing wrong with me. So when you begin with that state of being, that I'm okay, and then you start breathing, it will work. But if you are again using breathing for just solving another problem, I don't really see it help results.
Yeah. So is there any simple technique, like someone who's listening to this podcast, there's simple technique that you want to give them? Okay, this is something simple breathing technique that you can follow every day.
Yes, I do that. I take this. I do this breathing breaks many times a day. It's something like this. Like for example, in a conversation now, like when you are talking, I slip into this breathing break immediately. What happens is you inhale to the count of 4.
Okay.
You don't make a sound. It's the breath can be very soft, which only you hear the sound. Relax. Slowly inhale to the count of 4. Hold for a couple of seconds. And then exhale to the count of 4 or 8. Slowly. Basically, slowly you exhale. So it's something like this. You could either do it as an exclusive activity or even in a social setting. Like for example, in a podcast like this, as you are talking or as I'm talking, you could just relax if you would like. Or like, sometimes 5 of us are talking on a lunch table, everybody is, so many things are happening. I try to be present. Inhale, exhale. I see all the scattering mind just cooling down, slowing down. I become peaceful instantly. So this is called, I call it a breathing break. 4 into 4, inhale to the count of 4 and exhale to the count of 4. So what I also do is a variation of this, which helps me a lot in terms of recuperating after a hectic day. Especially early mornings, I do this, which is 4 into 11. So what I do is I do like something like this. I wake up around 4 o'clock, for example. So as soon as I wake up, I continue to lie on the bed. I don't get up from the bed always. I lie on the bed and I start like this. 4, hold to the count of 4, exhale to the count of 8. That's like 1. So after I've done that, I consciously tell myself 1. I say a number 1. Okay? And then I do the second time. Hold my breath. So once I've exhaled, it's I think taken around 15 seconds, the whole thing.
Yeah.
One breath. Then I say 2. I don't actually say it out, but you just say it in my ear. So once I completed 11, then I've done 1 round. I do 3 rounds. Sometimes these 3 rounds takes half an hour because the mind wanders, At a certain point of time, after say 4 or 5, you would see that your mind has wandered everywhere, and if you're not able to listen to the breath, the sound of the breath, and then after a few minutes or a few seconds, you realize your mind was wandering, and then you come back and like, what was the last number I said? Oh, 4, okay. Start with 4 again.
And then you start going in that, mind goes into that counting thing, no?
Yeah, that's where you come back. You don't start counting. You just go to the last count, and then you come to 4 and again start with 4. Again, see, the number is a detail. The number is it's a hook to help you to listen to the breath. Otherwise, the mind wanders everywhere, and you don't get the benefit of breathing. You get what I?
Yeah.
So you focus on the breath, the sound of the breath, but because your mind wanders everywhere, I say a number, so that I know I have to come back to that number, to the number, so that I have to come back to the breath. So sometimes I forget the number, so then I come back. But so it may take me half an hour to do 3 rounds of breathing. Sometimes I'm able to do it in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But it can take even more than half an hour. But that's okay, because the whole process is my body has slowed down, my mind has slowed down, and I've consciously done breathing. I can feel the difference in my prana, the life force, and I feel rejuvenated. And this half an hour, sometimes 15 minutes of breathing break is more rejuvenating than doing all those complicated yogic exercises, because just 15-20 minutes can refresh you more than 6 hours of rest, also extra rest. You don't need to sleep so much. But you don't need to sleep so much. If you see, the idea is you need to rest well, right? The body is rested through proper breathing, and you are relaxed. Ultimately, you have to be effective. It's not quantity. I do believe in quantity sleep also. Just lying down, just relaxing slows down your brain waves. So definitely quantity sleep is important. But I'm just saying that when you relax and breathe, for example, if yesterday was very hectic, then today morning, I would spend extra half an hour before I begin my day by just lying on the bed and doing this 11 into 4 breathing, because that half an hour gives me a lot of rest. It rejuvenates me.
So nice. I think that is also a part of, as you said, slowing down, because we have that thing in our head. Okay, I'll wake up. I have this, yes, lying down. Yes, and you beautifully explained how you've slowed down. Like, I think it's beautifully when it's coming from you, because you've been practicing this. Like, I was reading one example that there's some guru, his mother took him to that guru, and he was like, he eats a lot of sugar. And then you tell him that don't eat sugar, and he'll leave the sugar. And he was like, you come after 2 weeks and then I'll tell you. And after 2 weeks he came, and then he was like, don't eat sugar. And his mother was like, you could have done this before as well. I mean, why you took 2 weeks to tell him simple thing that leave sugar? And the guru was like, because I used to eat sugar. In that 2 weeks, I left sugar, and then that impact will come on this boy. So that's so beautiful that you are also doing it. So people will be very inspired with that. There's one more question coming on the top of my head, is that, this sometimes mind over body, mind over heart, and heart over mind. People get stuck in this. Some people have, they listen to their head more, and some people listen to their heart more, and both of them are frustrated. Like, I tend to listen to my heart more than my head, but I've seen people who listen to their head a lot. Even if their heart is saying, okay, this is something good, you should go for it, they'll keep on contemplating, this might happen, or this might happen this way, or this might happen that way. So it's always a mind over heart and heart over mind. That is what also you were talking in the lecture before as well. So what would you like to tell the people, who are always contemplating the situation that, okay, this is something.
Yeah. This is again a classic example of struggle. I was talking about the struggle space and the surrender space. Struggle is when we are constantly, okay, what should I do? This is the right thing to do. Maybe I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't do that. So the fear, the control, we're driven by control and fear, approval seeking behavior, all this wherever there is struggle, the head is hyperactive. At the same time, there are people who say, I want to follow my heart. They land up in a lot of trouble as well, because mind can mind can come through the back door. See, the mind is very nasty. Those who are driven by amygdala, which is like the impulsive brain. Yes, I just feel like, and they think it's the heart or it's the gut. I know it for sure. But a lot of problems have happened to a lot of people because they just acted impulsively, thinking that it's their heart that is inspiring. So ultimately, what we need to do as as a Bhakti Yoga practitioner, we need to understand that we need to make our prefrontal cortex strong, which is our rational brain, our intelligent brain. So it's not the head in the sense of overthinking. There's a difference between an overthinking brain, constantly worrying, and a sharp brain, which has clarity and which can take decisions strongly. So that happens when we have a culture of hearing wisdom, when we have a culture of hearing scriptures, or like this kind of podcast where we have meaningful discussions, where we listen to people who walk certain path and who have some experiences. So when we listen to them or we read books, meaningful literature, and we do some churning on it, so that the prefrontal cortex gets stronger, that it gets thicker. Actually, our thinking brain, our rational brain becomes strong. And without that, we will be in illusion. We would think that I'm following my heart, but we could be in a big mess. See, many of us are thinking addicts. And there's also something called as an emotional addiction. Just like we have liquor addiction, that people could be addicted to just emotions, and the same emotion keeps coming. Like, the first time you got angry, you may have been uncomfortable. But the body, the brain releases certain hormones when you're angry, like cortisol or something, and then the body starts becoming familiar with that hormone. Every drunkard, you ask him, the first time he drank, he didn't really find it very exciting or sweet or nice. The person who smokes a lot, it's not that the first time he smoked, he was very comfortable. It takes time for the body to get acclimatized, right? The addiction, it grows on. You start liking it slowly. Similarly, the first time a negative emotion overwhelms us, we may not be happy about it, but the body becomes little comfortable. The second time you get angry, again you're uncomfortable, but then you start getting comfortable with it. And then a time comes when your body, because of the hormone, the chemicals released, the body is very comfortable with the anger situation, anger emotion. And the body, it's as a feedback loop. The body starts telling the brain, give me more of that anger chemical. And the brain says, but there's no reason to be angry. The body says, no, create some excuse. I want to be angry. Because the body demands it. That's why we get addicted to certain emotions. So many of us, we may think, I want to follow my heart and all of that. But we may be just mano ratena satidhavato bahi. The Bhagavatam says we may be driving the chariot of the mind. So it's better. So thinking brain is not bad. It's just that we need to know how to think. Otherwise, we keep getting trapped. So therefore, scriptures, accessing higher intelligence, an intelligence beyond ourselves, which is wisdom, which is scriptures, which is the cosmic intelligence. So when we access that, then our own intelligence gets purified. And we are driven by our higher self, higher awareness to take the right decisions. So therefore, don't look for shortcuts, I would say. Just have a culture of hearing, chanting, practicing a process, practicing a culture. So that's what I would say, rather than dismiss it as, look for some shortcut of, okay, how can I follow my heart rather than my head? If we have this culture, then we will be driven by the heart. We will act in a way that is healthy for us.
I mean, I've never heard this term, emotional addict. I've never heard this term, and that was very, it clicked in me. And, but this one personal question of mine is that, see, when I started this podcast, I knew, like when you started like living as a monk, you knew that, okay, this is something for me. and something inside tells you, okay, this is for me. When I started this podcast, I've been an overthinker for the entire life of like for 30 years, I've been living. But I've been so sure about this thing. I've never been so sure about anything in my life. Probably that is why I'm not married yet. Because I'm not sure, I get very overwhelmed by the emotions, that okay, you're gonna live your entire life with someone, and I'm just not able to decide that this is something that I want to live with. But it's just something in me which tells that, this is that I've meant for. So do you think this is my mind tricking me, or this is like how do I evaluate that? Okay, this is something,
See that the fact that you have, if this doubt is overwhelming, then you're not sure. See, there's some things you're sure, and you do, the Bhagavatam gives a beautiful analogy. Bhakti pareshanubho viraktir anyatra chaisa trikaika kala prapadya manas yatashratassu tushti pushti shud apayonu gasam. When you eat food, the Bhagavatam says that now that's a certain point of time, you feel all three, tushti, pushti, kshudapayo, which means you nourished by that food, you are you are satisfied also, you get nourishment, you get satisfaction, and your hunger also goes away. All the three happen with each morsel that you take in. Similarly, when you are spiritually connected, then you will see that devotional sentiments, experience of the Lord, and the doubts that are haunting you, which is like the hunger in this analogy, everything will automatically happen. But the fact that it's not happening means it's not happening. You're not actually connected. So it's the head, it's a mind which is on a hyperdrive. There are people who are, in fact, my next book is on overthinking, navigating the overthinking trap. Overthinking is a reality because we constantly, it's an addiction. We think thinking will solve my problem. So that means we need to stop thinking. We need to stop overthinking, that is, and just let go and enter the space of surrender, which means in this case, just do whatever is right at that time. And it may be a mistake. You don't want to make a mistake. What's wrong? Life is not, you're not a mistake. You may make a mistake. So we get paralyzed. So therefore, there is something called as action. Action is the antidote for overthinking. So if you are confused too much whether this is the right thing to do, not right thing to do, just flip a coin, act. Just do it. And then see how the thinking gets spun up. So many of us, because what overthinking does, what this kind of analysis does is it gives an illusion that you're in control.
That's true.
Because you feel you're figuring out the solution and you kind of sort it out and you just got the answer on the verge of the answer. So that keeps you more sedentary, more lazy. But the more lazy you are and the more inactive you are and the more the mind gets hyperactive and the more you're away from the solution. The simple solution for all of this is just kick your butt, get up and do something. It could be just going for a walk. Put on your shoes and do some exercise, do some action. So if you are too confused whether this is the right thing to do or not, forget the whole thing, do something else. Do some action. Action is the antidote for overthinking.
It's so nice.
So I know this is like unconnected things, but that is a solution. You can't get solution for your problem by thinking about it all the time. You need to do something else. So whether this is the right thing for you to do or not, you know it. But if you don't know it, then forget this, do something else for some time.
So nice. I was reading one quote and he said, I was listening to a podcast and he says that an overthinkers think a lot, but he doesn't realize that the success is he's not being successful because he's ignoring the things that he is supposed to do. So if you start doing the things that you are supposed to do, you'll probably stop thinking whatever overthinking you had to do.
Uh, there are people who do a lot of overthinking about their overthinking.
So what is your suggestion to the overthinkers?
Just learn, just practice a small thing, small technique, and you'll see how your overthinking is punctured immediately. Imagine or envisage yourself sitting in the center, and on your right is God or Krishna, who is inviting you to turn to Him. And on your left is this giant mind which is constantly talking, is only constantly ranting. That's not you. So what is overthinking? Overthinking is this guy on your left. He is the one who is talking. So if you want to stop overthinking, just turn to him and say, oh, this is what you're saying. Thank you. So what I'm saying, practically what I'm trying to say is, separate yourself from your thoughts. So instead of let's say you are overthinking a lot about your getting married, for example. So for a change, spend the next 5 minutes just writing down what this nasty, I call him Golem sometimes, this mind next to you who is constantly shouting, talking. So Golem says, now get married. Now Golem says, no, don't get married. Golem says, how can you live with one person for the rest of your life? But Golem says, now he's feeling lonely. So whatever the mind is saying, separate it as not you, but a third person who's saying something. Basically, just like this video camera is observing us right now without judging us, just observe the world inside of you without judging. Just put it in words. This is what the mind is saying. And the more you separate yourself from your thoughts, more your overthinking becomes somebody else's problem. It's not you. It's your mind that is overthinking. It's a mind that is talking. The talkative mind is overthinker. Who is the overthinker? The talkative mind. So you just keep your mind on your left side. You're on the right. You look at your mind. You say, okay, thank you. This is what you're saying. I don't judge you. It's okay. And then you will see the mind becomes quiet. Because just like a thief, when he's apprehended, he has nothing, he's like caught. Similarly, when you objectively see what the mind is saying, mind is quiet. And the moment the mind is quiet, you can turn to Krishna on your right and you feel you are connecting to your higher self. You are driven by clarity. You know what to do. You know what is the right thing to do. Because you are governed by not your brain. You are governed by your higher version of yourself, which is Krishna or God. So we need to know this. Spiritual life is all about turning our neck from our left side to our right side. It's about listening to the voice not of the mind, but the voice of Krishna. And it begins with listening to the sound of the mind without judging. Objective awareness. So this is what I would suggest for those who are overthinkers. If you feel you are overwhelmed, just don't beat yourself up. Just write down what the mind is saying and you'll be amazed as you write down what the mind is saying. As you write the sentence, before you complete the sentence, you realize the mind has spoken 50 other things.
Yeah, that's true.
Mind is jumping so fast. So, but then you continue slowly, just writing down what the mind is saying, and you will be like at the end of it, wow, my mind says so many things. It's different. Being carried away by the mind's thoughts and the ability to see the mind, what it is.
Yeah,
that's very empowering. You will feel empowered. You will feel you're separate from your mind.
Nice. This podcast, we focus a lot on youth. Like that is the main, probably connecting mental health with spiritualities. That is what we are trying to do, because when I went through this, depressive state and, depression and all these things, spirituality was the only thing that fixed me. I've tried multiple meditation tricks as well. For me, mantra meditation worked the best. But overall, spirituality was the only thing that healed me. I've tried talking to people. I went to therapy sessions. I went to, group of people with enjoying. I thought of doing different stuff which can numb my mind and, but I couldn't do it. Spirituality was the only thing that helped me. So, what is your suggestion to the youth out there who are distracted? I see a lot of youth who are coming into spirituality as well. Like, I think the wave is changing, and youth want to know that, what spirituality is, what are these people saying? Because I've never seen a role model of some youth who's a monk. I see you, I see Gaurang Prabhu, I see Gaur Gopal Prabhu. People are following them like anything, like following you, and people are getting results out of it. And I see youth who are the wave is changing. So, what is your suggestion to the youth out there who wants answers to their questions?
Yeah. So 3 things you could do, and that these 3 activities will not only give you an experience of spirituality, it will also not only give you answers, but it will also help you ask the right kind of questions. It's not simply, we need to also ask the right kind of questions and be more introspective, thoughtful, and then you also get answers. So there are 3 amazing activities which actually constitute spirituality. The first is chanting, which is the foundation of Bhakti Yoga, where we chant the holy names of the Lord. It's a whole science in itself, how the science of sound, the different levels at which we can connect to the sound and to the Lord through sound. So I won't get into the details right now, but if we start vibrating the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, the more we chant, the more we vibrate this sound, the more cleansing happens of the consciousness, and you'll find peace not such a distant reality. You'll find peace very accessible. And when the mind is peaceful, Krishna says in the Gita that becomes a platform for exploring deeper happiness. So it's like coming from -5 to 0. And the 0 to +5 is positive spiritual experiences. So chanting helps you to make this journey from a disturbed state to a positive state, positive emotional state. So chanting is the foundation. Second is hearing. What I mean by hearing is studying scriptures, reading ancient texts like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, or hearing classes of great devotees like you mentioned about Gaur Gopal Prabhu or Gaur Gopal Prabhu, hearing their classes, reflecting on them. Because these words are words from ancient texts which are extremely powerful, written by saints of a bygone era, but those principles are as much applicable today as they were when they were first spoken 5,000 years ago. So therefore, reading these scriptures, understanding wisdom from them, that is second. So chanting, hearing, and third, the most important, is service. An attitude of service, wanting to give love, wanting to contribute to somebody else's happiness, which means doing some community service, going to a local ISKCON temple, like things like cooking or cleaning up the pots, serving food, cleaning up the temple, or outreach, telling people about Bhagavad Gita. Services, physical action, when we actually stretch ourselves to make somebody else's life more comfortable, more convenient. That service helps us digest what we hear. It helps us internalize everything that is there, all the wisdom out there, which is out there. It needs to, and it's here also. There has to be a master following. That connection, that oneness happens. That joining, that linking, that yoga. Yoga means yujjate, connection. That yoga happens when there is service. Service is the glue that binds us to the wisdom. So if we want to be directed by higher forces, if we want to be directed by the Lord, and we want to practice spiritual life in a way that is actually meaningful and effective for us, then these 3 things: hearing about the Lord, chanting the Lord's holy names, and serving people who are children of God. So these are the 3, this is a triangle. But if we have this in place, then you're practicing spiritual life.
What is the best suggestion that you've got in life?
The best suggestion as to regarding spirit,
Anything.
Yeah. Actually, many things you learn in life in retrospect. I don't know if that's the way it's with you, but at that point of time, it didn't make sense. Some things, not so much sense. But when I look back in retrospect, the best suggestion I got was from my father when I was a teenager. That time it didn't make much sense to me, but that's what I practiced. He said, "Son, look for a guru. Look for something higher than simply doing your day-to-day things." So that was a suggestion which I thought, why is he saying that? But he said it a few times, and I was in my impressionable years then. He said, look out for a guru and seek something higher than your day-to-day activities. So that, I think, triggered off a search in me for some higher truth. I think that was one of the best suggestions I ever got in my life.
Best shlok from Bhagavad Gita.
The shloka that I love the most. Yes. There are, at different times, different shlokas inspire you and make you feel. If you ask me today, right now, the most inspiring verse from the Gita is where Krishna said in the 18th chapter, Man manabhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame veshta satyam te pratijane priyasmi. Just remember me. Offer your heart to me. Become my devotee. Because I've experienced that when I do offer my emotions, my feelings to Krishna, I feel deeply connected to the Lord.
Your favorite book that you want to suggest to everyone who's listening?
I mean, the spiritual books?
Any book would you like?
Okay. Now, Journey Home, which is a book written by my spiritual master, His Holiness Sadhana Swami. He was a young boy, Richard Slave, and he was traveling as a seeker. That book has deeply transformed my heart. And I, on and off, keep reading it again and again. It's a very real book about how a young boy, 19-year-old boy looking for God, comes to India and finds his guru, finds his path. That's my all-time favorite book.
And any book that will help people to tell them how to control their mind?
Okay.
You can take your book name as well.
I was tempted, but then I don't want to be falsely humble also. But yeah, I think emotional intelligence is very much needed. Daniel Goleman's emotional intelligence is very, very important, because most of us are driven by the impulsive mind. So we need to be emotionally strong. And this book is a path-breaking book on emotional intelligence, developing emotional strength. Daniel Goleman's.
Nice. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
You've given on your precious time to us. And as I said in the beginning, I'm pretty sure everyone who's listening to you will be very much inspired. I am very inspired from last 3 days and today as well. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks so much for inviting me. And I wish all your viewers a very happy, prosperous, successful and effective life. May you find what you're looking for. May your heart always beat with joy, love, gratitude. May you tap the power of appreciation and love. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.